few weeks ago, I was teaching a group of teens, and I felt I had hit a bit of a brick wall. It was late in the evening, we had all been on Zoom all day, and any content in that moment had to compete with the ever-entertaining scrolling on their phones. So, I stopped and asked, think about a time when you felt like the other. And then, one by one, brave teens shared stories of when they felt on the outs and how it affected them. They were then able to dive into the hearts and minds of our ancestors, both ancient and modern. And just like that, we were learning Torah. This week's Torah portion, Parashat Mishpatim, is true to its name, which translates to rules, as it's filled with almost too many rules to count. It picks up just after the covenant between God and the people of Israel becomes official at Mount Sinai. Those first 10 commandments are established in last week's Torah portion, and this week, the Israelites are given a variety of rules that are a continuation of the terms of the Holy Agreement. Mishpatim covers rules related to crimes, property damage, what to do with lost objects, prohibitions, the treatment of people, etc. While there are many lessons we could glean from any one of these laws, this week I am drawn to the verse that ends the section which details the way that we treat the disadvantaged, the enemy, the needy, and the stranger. I believe this part of the Torah is trying to teach us a lesson that is timeless and universal, and yet one of the most difficult lessons to learn: empathy. This crucial skill encompasses the ability to understand people's emotions and imagine yourself in their place. As the Torah states important rules such as not treating any widow or orphan poorly, returning your enemy's property when you see it, even though it's the property of your enemy, and being sure not to subvert the rights of the needy. The Torah brings the sentiment home and makes it not just relatable for the Israelites, but directly about them. The covenant could have just included the things we should and should not do, but instead, it goes one beautiful step beyond that. The last verse of the series states, "You shall not oppress a stranger, for you know the feelings of the stranger, having yourself been strangers in the land of Egypt." The covenant, while holy and sacred, carries this very human element. Humans don't always listen when it doesn't relate to them. This isn't something we naturally grow out of after adolescence, and this isn't new either. God knew that God needed to speak to their hearts, to speak to them. This is the generation that knew what it was to be the other, that knew what it was to feel like the stranger and be treated as such. This generation knew the life of the disadvantaged and could easily access emotions surrounding those experiences. Yes, we should all treat people fairly with decency and respect because it's the right thing to do, and sometimes in order to do it, we need to be reminded that in some way, we too know what it feels like to be on the other side. The people in Israel accepting this covenant were a people who knew the stranger because they were the stranger. And generations later, as the people of Israel today, we know this too. Though we ourselves were not strangers in the land of Egypt, we have all been strangers. Let us remember how we felt during those times and use our own experiences to both better understand each other and better treat the other.